It's a Daily Talk Show episode 465.
We're in our makeshift studio at the Overlow in Woolloomooloo, and we've got Hi Josh on the show.
Do you have sound effects or anything?
Well,
I was really
there
hoping
it is,
you
there
would
it
do
is.
some. Can you do
I
one more?
can do them,
That was good. Oh, hang on, let me get one of
I
those.
was trying so hard. It's raining here in Sydney, as you can hear by the drip.
It's actually a lovely day. It's been freezing back in Melbourne. It's like 26
It's
degrees.
warm. I think I got burnt a little bit.
Did you?
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on the show, mate. It's. I mean, I saw you online a long time ago, and then you married my wife's best friend.
Yeah.
And now we're in the hotel room.
The first time I met you was at the wedding, and we didn't really even meet you because that's what weddings are like.
That's your wedding.
My wedding.
Not my wedding. Just because Josh didn't
Sorry.
get invited to my wedding, so I didn't want
either of your weddings.
Yeah. So I was,
No, that's okay. No, I don't mind.
It was a great wedding. How have you been, mate? I know you're having a baby. Well, you're not personally.
No.
Kat is.
yes. Yeah. Do you think that's a bit unfair that, we just sit back and the women just endure 9 months plus, you have a kid,
Mate,
the breastfeeding and
There can be no complaining from a man.
that's the problem.
Actually, no complaining.
I'm sometimes a bit tired if, I only get 9 hours of sleep,
Yeah.
but you can't say anything.
Oh, mate, it's going to get a lot worse for you. Let me tell you that.
Yeah, so I've heard.
But I think you'll go through this cloud and come out the other side, maybe 6 months. I think that's what a lot of people say. Where you start getting some sleep back, hopefully, and you'll feel like a new man. But I don't. You've brought some gifts today. I really appreciate that. You didn't do the cheese board.
No.
But you brought the chocolate.
I brought the sweet.
So do people just send you stuff? Is that what happens, or what?
No, the chocky, I like part of my brand is I do branded content, and one of them happens to be Dara Lee. Shout outs Dara Lee. And the first thing they did was they came to my house and filled my fridge with Dara Lee for this 10-second video. And I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. And then at the end of it, they're like, oh, by the way, we're leaving all this chocolate here. And I was like, oh my gosh, really? So we have been giving it to everyone to try and get it out of the house. Even Gumtree people, take the couch and here's some chocolate.
Is it just in your cupboard or is it in a fridge? Where are you keeping all this?
It's just in a hallway.
Because we had Andy Lee on the other day, and he was talking about the fact that he got sent a Snickers ice cream freezer, and he got one for his house and one for the office, but he was eating so many of them that he had to return it because they just kept filling it up.
Oh, they just kept filling it up. Yeah, well, that's the problem. At what point do you say, I can't anymore?
Well, when the money stops coming. Or you are so obese that you just have to. The doctor said, fucking, you got to stop this. I know you got the deal with Dara Lee, but fucking pull the pin.
Do you say 1 block a day? What's your limit?
I don't have a limit, but I give away more than I eat at this stage, and I'm close.
I brought 6 blocks, so you're having less than 6.
Yeah, it's hard not to, man.
Yeah,
so delicious. No. Shout outs, Dara Lee.
No,
if someone looks at your Instagram account, Hi Josh, your Facebook page, and they think, what do you do for a living? How do you explain that?
It depends who's asking.
Tax man, because he's saying you're making some money, but
is the ATO or his accountant?
The tax man is usually referred to as the ATO.
So the ATO is directly contacting
I'm not saying.
I've just been checking out your Instagram. What do you do?
Because that's alarming. If the ATO calls you going, hey, mate, what do you do?
I love your content, but I'm not sure what you do, because you have had a career change. Quite a drastic one.
Yes.
What was it? What were you doing before?
I was a church pastor, pretty much this time last year.
So you've been out on your own. I mean, that's
without the Lord.
Without the Lord,
you just completely fuck you to your boss. You leave. You just
and then you create. I mean, you've gone out on this creative endeavour, which is kind of daunting.
Yes.
Has it been?
Yeah, absolutely. And because everything changed in the last 2 years. After I met my beautiful wife, who I met 2 years ago, and then I think I proposed first. Quit my job, got married, got pregnant, and then here we are.
Yeah.
So
I'm glad we made it into that order.
Oh yeah, sorry. Daily podcast talk show. is the peak.
Two Joshes.
So yeah, like part of it was just like, let's just make all the changes at once and see how it goes. So yeah, daunting a little bit, but yeah, it was definitely the right time. Like I've been doing Hi Josh for like 12 years. Was my first YouTube video.
Wow.
Under the brand Hi Josh, and it's just been a hobby until this time last year decided to go full time.
What's the day to day of a pastor?
Oh, that's a good question. It's probably the same as a comedian. You're not really quite sure what the answer is.
Yeah.
It's actually like, it's a lot of like boring admin stuff, like emails and meetings with like other people on the staff team. But then like Sundays, like game day. And then we had like quite a large church. So like lots of big events during the week and that kind of stuff. So, and then like every now and then for me, I would like meet with someone one-on-one and like have some deep chats. And yeah, I don't know if that I've
Do you have
explained
KPIs?
that well.
Like, are there key performance indicators of a pastor?
What's
the ROI?
Yeah, one convert. Well, we kind of did, because like our church was quite big, which is kind of rare. Because it was so big and there's lots of moving parts, we decided to kind of have those things. But it was more like, you know, if I have a team of like 10 people and I want to make it 20 because we need to make it bigger, then maybe that's one of the KPIs. So it's like, what am I going to do to get there?
Yeah.
Have a chat with someone and then, you know, do some leadership seminars or something like that. That's the kind of KPIs that was in there.
So I mean, to get into... so you're doing the YouTube channel 12 years ago.
Yeah.
And obviously you started training. Is it training to become a pastor?
Yeah,
Is that what
Bible
you call
college.
it? So my wife went to Bible college.
Did she?
Tommy loves bragging about it too.
Well, to be honest, I mean, I grew up Catholic, you know, went to a Catholic school, Catholic-ish.
Catholic-ish.
And meeting someone like my wife and hearing this sort of different world. We're all in sort of little bubbles. And I know it is a bubble because, you know, I'm over here in another one. And I'm fascinated by it. So I think for the three of us in the room, Mr. 97, Josh and myself, and then you're the other person. I'm just clarifying how many people are in the room.
And then there's two in the corner. And
there is an interesting, you know, sort of culture or something that you're involved in that we're not. And so I think it can be fascinating.
Yeah, it is fascinating.
And so what was...
stop.
Well, moving out of it, what was that?
Well, he's moving out of it. So to clarify, is that you making a decision? Is that like a faith decision, or is that a job? Like, do you not become a pastor anymore and still retain your faith? Basically,
It was a job decision or like career decision. Basically. So, I'd been doing like YouTube on the side, but like 12 years ago. So way before like I started at Bible college and that kind of thing. So I never really stopped doing that because it's like the side hustle, like just like a hobby of like making videos. And then like 4 or 5 years ago I made some videos that went viral, which was kind of unexpected. And then
this was the toaster and the CD player.
The throwing video was the number one.
Yeah, because the funny thing is I saw that. And then I saw your the license that you did.
The license video, yeah.
And I didn't attach them as the same person. Is that a common thing where people will watch different ones of your videos and not actually realise that it's you?
Yeah, because I don't really have a consistent theme. Well, certainly 4 or 5 years ago, every video was completely random. So I made that video, and then 2 months later made How to Speak Australian video, which also like went really big, but like completely different. So then I got like a little bit of a following on Facebook, and I was like, I should probably take this a bit more seriously. Like, you know, when things go well, you're like, you know, you don't stop doing them or do them less. You're like, maybe I should invest in this a little bit. So then I started try to make regular videos, regular-ish, and then people offered me money to make branded videos. And
what was the first brand?
I think it was Gelatissimo.
Yeah.
after the throwing video.
Is that ice cream?
Yeah.
Was that I think I saw where you were throwing ice cream.
So they would like come into the store and just do the throwing thing. And
Did
like,
you land it?
and I'm like, do you realize how long like it actually takes?
So if someone hasn't seen the video,
Yeah.
there was moments where you would throw a CD behind you
Yeah.
and you'd get it into
In the
CD.
DVD player, and like milk into the fridge, a knife into the knife block.
The knife into the knife block.
Oh my gosh.
That's the one that I was like, all
gotta
of
be
them
fake.
potentially believable,
Yeah.
like a believable. This one, this is. I'm like, how like. Everyone thinks they're really smart, so I was like, he's reversed it. But that doesn't make any fucking sense
there's a
either.
string.
Yeah.
I know.
So how'd you do the knife one?
Patience. I was very single, had a lot of time on my hands, and
Any damage?
lots. But it was it was at the church kitchen.
Yeah.
But like there's this old building that we kind of used to party in, and so like it was already pretty run down. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, what's a few like stab holes in the kitchen? It's fine. So that took me like weeks, obviously not non-stop, but like maybe 9 hours of throwing just for that one, not including the other 10
9
that I
hours.
did.
Do you get any RSI or anything like that?
I didn't. Sometimes the knife would like ricochet and come my way, but I was safe. It
Did
was
anyone
fine.
walk in and just...
What are you doing?
Josh has lost it. What is happening, mate? You're throwing a knife behind you.
No, I don't think anyone walked in.
Because you did it in secret.
Yeah, exactly.
I remember growing up in high school, would have the local church would come, and there were some pastors and would play heaps of improv. Like there was like the one chubby bubby, two, like the
they love
marshmallow
that.
thing.
I think like apparently you're not allowed to do that anymore because some kid choked and like
Really?
that kind of thing. That's what happens with like youth group. You play this game, everyone plays it, and then someone dies, and then you can't play it anymore. You know?
So what is
be
it down
fair.
to now? Just sitting around. Just
That's
going
like,
to- yeah, one person dies.
one chubby bunny. Come on.
Yeah, too many. So did you do that? Did you go to schools and stuff?
A little bit. It actually, I went a lot more when some of those videos went viral, and they were like, "Oh, cool dude pastor."
Yeah.
So I'd kind of combine both of like viral videos because like kids love that stuff. And then talk about Jesus.
Well, because we have a bunch of international listeners. How would you describe?
When you say a bunch,
Yeah, well, we've got like
4
20,
million.
well, 20% of our listenership aren't in Australia.
when you say 20%,
4 million.
because I never put a number on it.
Percentages.
That's
are
the
great.
best thing
Apart-
I was thinking about podcasts because like for me, people can see my success or not success. But for podcasters, you can completely pretend that you're way bigger than you
Look at
are.
this. We've got a hotel room.
Well, the
We've got
average
an
podcast has 124
124. Yeah.
124 downloads per episode.
Really?
So that's pretty low.
We're beyond that.
Yeah,
125.
125.
How would you describe Australia's relationship with faith and religion as a culture as a whole?
Oh, like slowly turning away from it, I guess, is the broad kind of thing. I don't know. It's a weird one because I think media is pretty against it, or sometimes against it, but at least not for it. But I don't but that's like the media is always like a microcosm of. It's not necessarily like the average Australian thoughts or beliefs, but I mean certainly in church, like as I said, our church is quite big, and there's always been a constant flow of people. But like 30 years ago, everyone kind of went to church, or you'd at least try and go a couple of times a year with your family because you thought it was a good thing.
Yeah.
But I think more and more now, like our generation, where we're like, why would you do that?
Yeah.
And I'm not against that decision at all because I think it's like it might as well be authentic. Like there's no point in having an inauthentic faith. There's no point just rocking up to church because you think it's the right thing to do. Like, and I think more people are making that decision where it's like, well, why is it the right thing to do? And if it's not for me, then I'm not going to go, which I'm like, cool. Like, at least she made the decision rather than just like, yeah, everyone just go, or like, that kind of thing. So
when it comes to job progression in something like that,
what's the top? The top.
Yeah, I mean, I think
When
you could
the
go.
Pope,
I become the CEO of a company. What is the job progression that is available?
What's the hierarchy?
Yeah, again, it depends like what you want.
So what was the church called? So like I don't know, and I'm pretty useless when it comes to religions. So is it a sect of Christianity, or like how do you explain what your specific church?
Yeah, the easiest way is like it's Christian, but then in that you just kind of have different flavors. Yeah. It's like fast food.
Yeah, it's like Daryl
I go to the
know?
McDonald's branch.
Yeah.
But yeah, so my church was Anglican, and I now go to a different Anglican church. I mean, technically, it's what do you call it? What do we do to you Catholic guys? We
baptize.
We protested you, which means we're Protestants.
Okay, yeah.
So is that different? So there's Pentecostal, and what is Pentecostal?
Yeah, that's one of them.
So they sing a lot and stuff, don't they?
Yeah, Pentecostal. That's kind of their flavor is like. Singing and like very positive.
Like concerts and shit. I've always said to Tommy, like, if we needed a production person, getting someone who's been
from
at a church.
Yeah. Absolutely. And that's the funny thing about church. I mean,
it's TAFE.
Regardless, seriously, like regardless of the faith section of it, I mean, the community is amazing and it's hard to replicate that. But like the volunteer side of it is just like, it's so cool to be able to like grow up in that, and that's where my like interest in video and skills came from. Like I made videos for youth group, and then started making them for myself, and now I do that as a job. So it's kind of an interesting, like you're talking about the bubble. It's an interesting world and culture of like. Aside from the faith side of it, you've got this community thing, you've got this volunteer thing, you've got learning skills like for free, doing skills for free, that kind of thing.
When, as far as the business side of things goes, it's a job, and I think about us and where we want to take this and what it could become. And are you thinking that when you're in the position of like, where am I taking
for the
this
church
job? Yeah, for your job.
Not for me. Because I mean, I was kind of happy with what I was doing. I was basically looking after like the young adult age group of the church, and there's probably 200 or 250 of those people like in between 18 and 25 or something like that. That's kind of how we ran our church, was like age based. So there was a kids minister, there's a youth, there was me. Then they kind of had like a women's, and then a kind of a broadly men's minister, and then like an executive minister, and then the senior guy who kind of led us all. So that, like, as you're talking about, like, progression, like some people want to be the senior guy or the senior person, but then people like me, like my dad was also a pastor, and he was happy to be youth pastor for 40 years. He didn't want to, like, he just had his thing and wanted to stay there, even though maybe a normal person would be like, oh, don't you want to move on or move to your age group or something like that? So, yeah.
Well, I think it's instilled in us to look at whatever we're doing and go, how can I do it better? How can I climb up?
How can I see improvement? I guess, how can I progress?
Yeah. I think you can do that without it being like financial or even part of this, like a structure of
definitely.
Like, oh, now I'm, I don't know, the boss of this guy rather than being on that team. And some people's aspirations is that, and that's fine. But I think for me, I was happy to just look after my own thing. Yeah.
I think it makes sense. Like they talk about in technology, it's okay for people just to be developers. If they're a really good programmer, it doesn't mean that they would go on to be a great manager.
Yes,
but unfortunately,
absolutely.
the way that hierarchies and the systems have been created, it sort of forces people to end up doing middle management that they don't actually even have interest in.
Yeah, and that's probably like a kind of a false, I don't know, dream or understanding for people is like, you don't necessarily have to be doing that to be like kind of fulfilling what your skills are and that kind of thing. Like, and I really appreciate people who kind of stay in their position that's maybe a bit smaller but absolutely nail it. Like similar to my dad, who's like, youth pastor. Normally, youth pastors, they move on after 2 years or 3 years, or they get older and they're like, kids, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he was just like, I love it. I'm getting better at it. I'll stick with it for like 40 years. And like, that's cool.
Yeah, that's so
appreciate
cool.
that.
I think, is that him defining what success is for him?
Yeah, exactly. I think that's it. Like, it's such an interesting question. Like, what is success? Because I think for a lot of people, success would be actually working less to have more time with family, or to have more time to do their side hustle or whatever it might be.
Or getting Daryl Lee chocolate and podcasting at the Overlow Hotel. You know,
Name drop.
I don't know. We'll just have a piece of chocolate.
Was it a big decision for you to move on? Like, I can imagine leaving a job is hard enough, let alone when it is connected to community and faith the way that it would.
Yeah. Yes, certainly. And like, a little kind of insight into that culture of church. What's celebrated, generally speaking, is people giving up their jobs to kind of serve the church, or like being missionaries overseas and that kind of thing.
Did you ever do that?
Don't you dare, Mason.
Don't you dare leave and become a pastor.
Have you ever done the overseas thing?
Yeah, or like short-term stuff, like 2 weeks and that kind of thing, but certainly not like, you know, people stay there for the whole lives. My parents are in Africa at the moment doing that.
Wow.
And so that's celebrated, and then so on the other end, there's the pastor who does
the opposite. Yeah, and again, like, it's just a culture that's kind of emerged with probably no one's dictated it, of like, we're going to celebrate these guys and not these guys. It's just a thing that we accidentally... similar, this is maybe a better example, is in church we tend to celebrate when people get engaged, when they get married, and like we'll stand them up in the middle of church and like cheer for them and pray for them and that kind of thing. And that's great, and it's good to celebrate those momentous like moments in life, but it's like, what message is that giving to the single person? Because what we preach is that singleness is just as valuable. Jesus was single, etc. But by our little actions, like, what are we actually saying? And so it's a hard one, and I don't know what the answer is like in that context. But certainly there was only one guy that had made a move from being a full-time minister to just going back to his profession in my church, and he was the only one that I could kind of, you know, ask questions of like, was it okay? Like, should I do this?
He's like, man, I've got 10 boxes of chocolate at home. These are good.
And I'm right, I'm being paid in chocolate right now.
Do you ask your dad, like, obviously having a lot of those experiences, when you have the questions around, hey, like, we're celebrating this engagement, but what about this single thing? Who do you bring those sort of questions to?
I once asked the whole church.
Little open mic night.
Did an Insta poll.
Yeah. Hands up, who's single? No, I questioned it like I just questioned it with you, and I was preaching, I don't know what about, like maybe on something to do with marriage or whatever, and I just said, I was like, it's cool that we celebrate people getting engaged and married, and we should do that. It's not a bad thing. But how do we celebrate, you know, the people that are single, or either decide to be single or are single just because of circumstance? And I said to them, I don't know what the answer is, but even just asking the question, it just, I guess it helps people to talk. For the single people sitting there to know, oh, okay, someone valued me from the stage. They didn't clap me and make me stand up. Of like, because you also don't want to ostracize them and be like, yeah, Susan, stand up because you're still single this week, and we celebrate that. But yeah, I don't know what the answer is, but you know, there's a lot of those things in society which are unspoken, but it's like, oh, you're 40 years old and you're still living with your parents, and it's like, okay, is that a bad thing? Maybe it is in some circumstances, but maybe there's a reason behind that.
What was the response when you did that?
Oh, I mean, people appreciated it, but again, there's no answer. Like, we still, you know, the next week someone got engaged and
They're
still got them up.
That's why the Instagram poll works so well.
Anonymous.
It gives you a 50-50. You know,
I think we wrap our identity up so much in our jobs.
Yeah.
And is it fair to say that for something like being a pastor.
Yeah.
There's a lot of identity in that.
Yeah, because it's tied to your spirituality. So like your life decision of like following Jesus, it's tied to that. And it's tied to these maybe unspoken things of like, yeah, we celebrate people who drop everything and serve the church. So yeah, for me it was a tough decision, which I just made over a long time. But once I'd made it, like I knew it was the right decision to move on. And yeah, so I haven't really looked back. And it hasn't, again, it's not tied up with my own personal faith. Like I started going to a church out near where I live now. But yeah, I'm just not as involved as I was before.
What's the dynamic when you change churches?
It depends why you change. Boo.
Do people ask? Like, oh, hi Josh, welcome to the church. Where were you before?
Yeah, and why did you leave, right?
Do they ask? Yeah, well, I guess they would.
Yeah, no, I think that is the...
Do they make a few calls, find out from the other church what they...
like sometimes, and from being on the other side of it where lots of people would come to our church.
How many people?
I think we had like 1,200 total.
Okay, yeah.
Wow.
But like every week there's new people, and they're generally not people that have never been to church. They're people who have been at another church and then they're checking out ours. And like the cool thing about like my church was we made sure that it was like pretty just kind of well known to those people that we want to encourage them to stay at their church, because ours was an easy one to just come because it's big and it's fun and it's like there's a youth group and that kind of thing. Where
someone's got to go to the shitty church. Is that what you're saying?
But yeah, there's a lot of empty churches. But I mean, that's the thing. Like you don't want to. You do need people at those smaller ones, and I'm now at a smaller one. And it's,
what does the small one bring then? Because obviously there is some extra value that you can get.
Well,
from that.
Everyone knows everyone, and I'm saying that in a positive way. Sometimes it's not always that positive. At the church I'm currently at, they do like dinner after their night service every week. Because they can.
What do you have?
Yeah, what's the spread?
Last time is a barbecue chicken.
Are they going to say 10 boxes of Darrelly?
yeah. Someone brought a whole bunch of Darrelly. Like that's the cool thing about small church is you can kind of hang out with everyone. You can know everyone. You can eat together, which is it's just a really cool thing. Like again, that community vibe.
So taking the leap out of doing something that you were into the YouTube stuff, were you scared? Was it?
Yeah, obviously, like I was scared that it was not the right decision, or that, like financially, that I wouldn't be able to support myself and my future wife/family. But it, like I said before, it took me a long time to make the decision. I talked to so many people to get their wisdom, and I journaled and I looked back on the journals, and I was like, I think this is the right time. And so once I'd made it, I was like, okay, I'm at peace. Like I didn't look back. I was just like, okay, this is it. And it's been it's hard to explain, but it's like a year on. I'm like, whoa, it worked. It really worked, and it's working.
Last time I saw you in Melbourne, you'd just done a stand-up comedy gig.
Yeah, my first one.
And it's so interesting. Like a good friend of ours, Craig Harper, is a motivational, high performance coach, speaker. Speaks in front. 700 people come out to see him. And he's talking about things that help people, but he's really fucking funny. And it's like...
It helps.
It's an interesting one. I could imagine the training you did, talking to people, having to command a room, having to share information or tell stories, has basically been the foundation for walking into what you are now.
Yeah. It didn't feel like that when I walked on stage for the first time.
I'd be shooting myself.
I think it probably helped. But yeah, like stand-up comedy is... it's an interesting art form. Like you've written... something you think is funny, and you've left a space for people to laugh, but until you actually get up there and say it, you're like, this could go really wrong. Because what if they don't laugh?
Yeah.
And then the second thing is kind of like the first thing, and so then it might not laugh at that. And then like where do you go from there?
Oh, you run.
Yeah.
You
Drop
get
the
Did you
mic.
do open mics and things like that?
No.
Or- Really? So the first...
First time was I was the headliner for like a night of comedy.
And you didn't know if the jokes worked?
Yeah.
Because that's pretty crazy, right?
And I didn't have time. I'm always like a last minute guy. I didn't have time to practice out loud because my flight, it was in Melbourne, I'm from Sydney. And so I was flying down for the first show, and Star was delayed for 7 hours. And so
I thought it was a brand deal.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought it was a plug.
No, it was an anti. It's an anti-plug. It's an unplug.
It's an unplug. Delayed for 7 hours. I was like, well, that's it. My stand-up career is over. But I got there, landed, got in like the Uber, went to the venue, and the first half of the show had already finished. And so I got there at intermission, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm like 3 people away from my first stand-up gig ever. And my plan was to use those 7 hours in Melbourne to practice for the first time out loud, and all I could do was just practice in my head.
Oh no.
And so that kind of freaked me
So
out
you
a
just did
little
half
bit.
an hour of slamming Jetstar on stage? Or was there a Jetstar joke at least in the set?
No, there wasn't. I missed
How did
an
it go?
opportunity. It went better than I thought, because I did it 3 weeks in a row. So that was the first night, and then I went back the second week and the third week.
When did I see you? What was that? Was that when I saw you this year, or was that another time?
Yeah, that would have been the third show,
yeah.
after the third show. First show was all right. The crowd was a bit smaller and a bit cold.
What was the venue?
It was a cold night in Melbourne. Melbourne Convention Centre in the city.
How many people were there?
I think the first night was like 150 or something. But then the next 2 nights were like maybe 300 or so.
Wow. So how'd you get roped into it? I mean, it's a choice, but how'd...
Someone just emailed me. It just tends to happen. They're like, do you want to do stand-up? And I'm like, oh, I've never done it before. And they're like, well, you can be the headliner. And I'm like, I've never done it before. Like, why would you think that I could do it? And I mean, not just do it, but be like the last guy on the bill. And so like, he was like, yeah, you'll be fine. And then I was like, oh man, this must be such a shoddy show. Like, they're reaching for talent, that they're picking a guy that's never done stand-up before to be the headliner. I'm like, this has got to be bad. I got to check out the other 9 acts just to see how bad they are. So I Googled some of them, I YouTubed some of them, and I was like, oh my gosh, these guys are legitimate comedians. Like, have written for like late night shows in America, have like had stand-up careers for 20 years. I'm like, what have I got myself into? Because I thought these guys are going to be even worse than me, and I'm headlining. So yeah, that kind of freaked me out a little bit. I'm like, this is no amateur show.
Well, it's a real subculture, the stand-up comedian world, because there would be comedians that have been doing it for 20 years that would be super pissed. Or looking at someone who's got a following that just comes in and does the headline. But then there's the other side of the coin, which is... Josh, I'm scared shitless. I've never done it before. It's self-doubt.
Help me.
And so, but it's an opportunity. So you've taken an opportunity.
Yeah.
What's the alternative, I guess?
Yeah, just staying
Don't
at
do
home
it.
eating Daryl Lee.
Yeah.
But yeah, it went well. Heaps better than I thought. And yeah, I got to chat to some of these comedians and realize I'm not them. They're not me. We do completely separate things. But I'm kind of stepping into their world, giving it a go, and they're asking me questions about my world, and they're kind of a little bit jealous of like having a following. And I didn't realize this about comedians. Like, their following is because they do 4 pub like shows a night, and like 2 people come, and like if they do a really good job, then that one person might remember their name, and like it's a hard slog. And I don't think I'd ever do that.
Did you get the vibe from these people that you met? Did you feel that from them? Did they...
Like which part?
As in, like, are these
That jealousy
people?
or the,
yeah.
was it a negativity?
No, it wasn't
or
a
no?
negative jealousy. It was like, you know, they were saying, "Oh, would you want to do your own shows?" Like that the goal. I'm like, "Oh, I don't think so," because they were all doing their own shows.
Oh, mate, I'm at the top. I just headlined this. It's just down for me
Back to
now.
Sydney 7 hours later.
Who's your audience?
Who's my audience?
Yeah.
85% women.
Yeah.
But how many?
4 million.
Generally, I call them like mums and bubs.
Yeah.
Like for some reason, I think it's probably because I started doing like Bachelor content like a few years ago, that it's just kind of progressed to like being young mums or like women between like 18 and 35 who like love the Bachelor, but then like my content's pretty safe because I'm still kind of that guy. So if they have kids, they're like, they allow them to watch me on YouTube and that kind of thing. Yeah, so the stand-up thing, no, it wasn't a negativity, jealousy. It was like, I guess something that I didn't realize I had, which was a following that I'd built over many years. And because they, these guys were, you know, almost exclusively doing stand-up, they didn't have that, unfortunately, which they should, because like these guys were so funny, unbelievable. So yeah, they were actually really encouraging that whole time.
So was the audience on the night a representation of the audience online?
Were they exactly 85%?
Yeah, well, I wonder, was it completely different? Is it a different...
Yeah, because they weren't all there for me.
And I guess that's an interesting case too. When you fill out a room that's just your audience,
your people,
everyone's there celebrating you.
Yeah.
To your point of having all these different people.
Yeah.
If you add up all of the people that weren't there for you, there's a significant amount that don't necessarily know you or
don't
understand
care.
you.
Like don't care that it's my first time. But I think it went all right. Like the people laughed in the pauses that I had, you know, scheduled for them to laugh in.
I love how you describe a joke. Just, you know, the bit at the end.
But it's
laugh.
like it's so true, and I, like it's unbelievable how crafted people's stand-up is, and the more relaxed and off the cuff they seem, the more crafted it is. It's crazy hard work, and like I take my hat off to those guys.
And so for the 3 shows you did do, what is it? Did you feel like I mean, it's only 3 shows, but by the 3rd show, are you feeling more confident?
Yeah, well, after the first show, I like watched it back immediately, and I was like, take that bit out, take that bit out. I, you know, said something off the cuff that really worked, like add that in. So in between 1 and 2 was like a significant jump in my own confidence and the actual set. And then 3 was just kind of like I don't know, like a farewell, like peace guys. I'm like, I've nailed this. This is my career. Yeah, I've done 2 of these before. So that was just kind of like a nice, like, ooh, 2 went really well. Let's do that again and just do it with more confidence.
Are you going to do it again?
Yeah, probably. I just like, it's just so much hard, like it's hard work.
Yeah.
It's hard and weird to sit down and try and write jokes. Like it's really odd, and it doesn't come naturally to me. I don't think.
So how did you do it? What were you writing? Like,
I went across the road to the cafe, I sat down, and I just started writing. And then, actually, that is true, but there was a before bit, which is I try and write ideas down or like funny things I think of in like just a list in my phone, and sometimes those things become videos. Quite often they don't. So I just look back at the last, I don't know, however long I've been taking notes to find anything that was like possibly funny and like old tweets and that kind of thing, and see if I could kind of expand them. And that was like how I shaped the whole set, was like, I've said 5 funny things once, and I'm pretty sure these ones are actual funnies. Let's like expand those 5 things into 20 minutes of like material. I don't know if that's how people normally do it, but I just kind of sat down with that list, just started writing, went back to it, chopped out stuff that wasn't funny, and hope for the best.
You do content that is very sort of positive, and I guess that sort of family friendly stuff.
Yeah. Clean.
Has it been a challenge riding waves of like creative burnout or anything like that? Are you pretty stable with that type of thing, or do you?
Yeah, at the moment it's pretty stable. Like, I have a bank of like ideas just from the list that I keep adding to. Again, like 80% of the stuff I write down will never become anything, but possibly, and this tends to happen, like one thing becomes my whole like brand for the next 3 months. So for example, and this wasn't even my idea, at the start of the year, Yahoo came to me and was like, we want to do some content around MAFS, Married at First Sight. Like, do you have any ideas? I'm like, nope, never seen the show. And they were like, well, what about, have you ever tried like the bad lip reading stuff? And I'm like, ugh. Like, I hate doing ideas that have already been done. But they were going to pay me. So, so I ended up doing like the first episode of Married at First Sight. And I'd never done this like voiceover stuff before, but I did it. And the video got like 1 million views, like in a couple of days.
It was funny as fuck.
Okay, good. And then I was like, whoa, like we as in me and Yahoo really stumbled across this thing that people really enjoyed.
Yahoo just sounds like a friend, doesn't it? The way you just so
Yahoo serious, you know the guy.
So who are you talking to at Yahoo? Is it like their head of
like
marketing for some division, or
it's like head of content at Yahoo Lifestyle Australia. Yahoo's huge, and like there's one section of that because they used to repost my Bachelor videos, which is why I like started the relationship with them. So you have
Skype calls? Like, I'm curious about this stuff, like, because they have an office in are they 9MSN still?
No, they were Yahoo 7, but that split, so they're just
that's right,
independent. Yeah,
just, they're in Sydney. They are.
Yeah. Just met at their office, and the lady was like, got this idea. I was like, not so keen, never done it before. Like, don't want to rehash bad lip reading guys who are like smashing it. But they're paying me, so.
And what did they want out of it? Did they make it clear of like, this is what the ROI is for us?
No, they just wanted content around Married at First Sight.
On your channel?
Well, a bit of, like shared. It would sit on their channel, I'd share it, that kind of thing. But yeah, we stumbled across this thing that was like absolute gold. Like every week they would get a video that had 1 million views, which that's never happened for me, ever. Like I've had some videos which have multiple million views, but they're like one-offs. Like, 4 years ago, like I'm not doing consistent content that's getting those views, but this kind of happened, and it was out of nothing, which like I'm saying, like 80% of the ideas I have become nothing, but maybe that 1% is the thing that I'm kind of known for now, is this between the lines lip reading reality shows. And it came out of nowhere, so I'm like, I wonder if that'll happen again with something else. With creative burnout, I haven't found it in like the last year of doing stuff, because I have so many ideas I just haven't done yet, even if they're not good ideas.
It's the beauty of it. It's like trying these ideas will be the difference of it, of finding out whether it'll work or not. The dancing,
absolutely,
that you live stream,
Wake Up Wednesday,
and you got some good dance moves. There was this one where this woman walked past.
Oh my gosh, my
Doris,
favorite.
what was her name? Sandy. I went on a stalking mission to find Sandy.
Did you find her?
Found Sandy.
Yeah. You follow her now?
No, I didn't follow. That was a bit too far. But tell us about what happened.
Well, so the Wake Up Wednesdays, and this was kind of back where maybe I was trying to make consistent content, but I didn't have an idea for consistent content. But one thing I was doing when I was at church, I was like, I need to get into a good routine, but I hate waking up in the morning. So I was like, one thing I love doing is dancing, and just like to good music. It always like wakes me up instantly. So I was like, why not just try wake up, and the first thing I do is put on my favorite song and dance. So I started doing it, and like it worked. Like it got me up, it got me happy. I'd go like to the gym like consistently, and then go to work. It was like such a great routine, and I was like, I'll do it every day. So I'd wake up, dance to like 1 or 2 songs, and get on with my day. So then when I was thinking of like consistent content, I was like, well, maybe like I'm already doing it. Maybe I could just share it with the world. So I chose a Wednesday to Wake Up Wednesday, Instagram live stream dancing to one song. And it started out like that. I would dance at like 6:15. That was my routine. So no one would watch it.
Yeah.
But some people would kind of comment during the day as they watched it, from before. And then that kind of transitioned into getting people to vote for the song that they wanted on the Tuesday night. And then that transitioned into getting people to submit their own dancing videos on a Wednesday. So that's where it kind of started.
Yeah.
So every Wednesday I do this, and then I repost people's dancing videos on a Wednesday. But now that I've moved, I do it generally outside because I live across the road from a park. So I go across to this park one morning, and people walk past because it's like a nice park to walk. And I try to ignore them, even though I've been doing it for so long, I'm still like, oh, I'm the weird guy dancing in the middle of the park. But this one morning, I was setting up my computer on a bin. I have a special bin that I put my computer on, put my phone down so I can play the music and dance. And there was this old lady kind of coming towards me, and I try to ignore people before I'm like dancing because it's, again, I'm like, oh, this is so orkies. But then I hear like this little voice. She's like, is your name Josh? And I was like, what? And I'm like, yeah, how do you know? She's like, a couple of weeks ago I walked past like behind you, and my niece like pointed me out and said you were on this Josh's like dance thing. And I was like, oh, that's amazing. And I'm like, so are you gonna dance with me this morning? Or and she was like, no. She's like, I've just like got a hip replacement, so I can't really do it. She's like 70 years old. But then because I was live streaming at that point, I was like, hey everyone, if you want Sandy to dance, you got a message right now.
Yeah.
Dance, Sandy, dance. And so all these messages came through, and I'm like, Sandy, they want you to dance. And she's like, okay. So we were dancing to Crazy in Love, Beyonce, that morning. So she joined me. And then I just put the video together of her reacting to not wanting to dance, but then getting people to make her dance. And that was one of my favorite ones, because normally they're just like, it is what it is. I dance, I go home. But every now and then, and this almost happened this Wednesday, I went across the park, set my stuff up. There was an old man and lady walking towards me, so I ignored them like I still do. I was like, oh, just wait till they walk past and then start playing the music. And then as they walked past, my wife was opposite me just chilling, and she was like, that's Malcolm Turnbull.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, what? She's like, that was Malcolm Turnbull. And I'm like, oh, I missed an opportunity where I should have just started dancing and just get his reaction, or like if I noticed it was him, be like, oh, Malcolm, come take a dance. So yeah, every now and then, the bin guy comes and interrupts me, or like Sandy walks past, and it makes it for an interesting Wednesday.
Do you ever switch off?
Switch off
personally? Like as in with all the ideas, you've got lists and lists of ideas. Is there a time where you're not creating or coming up with content?
Not really. It's been pretty flat out. I kind of count my blessings that I haven't gotten to a Wednesday in the last year. I think I started doing this like over a year ago, where I'm like, gee, life sucks today, or like this week has been, the week from hell, and I just don't feel like dancing, especially on the internet.
Yeah.
So I kind of count my blessings that I've never had a week or a day that has really, that I wanted to like retreat from the internet, which is my job. And like, I know that day will come, like it definitely will come, like especially with the babies coming in 2 weeks. Like I know it's going to be difficult. I'm going to be sleep deprived, like, there'll be emotions and hormones and all those things surrounding it. And I think that's fine. I'm confident to be, to actually take a break from social media if I need. Like,
do you have a plan? Like, what does the break look like for you?
Yeah, sit down like those YouTubers, like the apologies guys. I got something really special to tell you.
I feel like you've got so much content that you've got a bank of stuff that you could put stuff out every single day without actually having to produce something.
Yeah, I don't really have the only bank I have is like doing throwbacks, which I try and do once a week. But Like to do
On
those
Thursdays, or?
actually Mondays.
Oh, really?
Just throw us off. Well, how do you
Well,
roll?
I've got Wake Up
it?
Wednesdays, I've got Fashion Fridays, and I thought it might be overkill to do another one.
Yeah, no.
But maybe I should just do every day. Motivation Mondays,
Yeah, I like that.
Cheese Tuesdays.
Cheese Tuesdays.
Just cover myself in cheese. Yeah, so I don't know. I think like I'm preempting it because the Bachelor finale is next week, and then the week after baby's born, and normally the Bachelorette starts. So it's possible that the baby will be born during an episode of The Bachelorette, and that's one of my things that I do Bachelor recaps every week, and I haven't like missed one. So I'm preempting to be able to have to say to people, "Hey, got a pretty good excuse tonight."
Yeah.
Well,
maybe,
or you might feel like doing it.
yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. I mean, it is a hard time, but the dancing shit makes you feel good. It makes other people feel
and
good.
it helps me wake up. And maybe I need it every day when
Yeah.
the baby comes. But I feel like I'm okay. Like haven't needed to take a break from social media, which is cool. Like again, I count my blessings with that.
What content online are you loving at the moment? Who are you following?
I'm like a big YouTube watcher. Who am I watching? I'm watching like throwbacks of this channel H3H3.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, great.
Yeah. And their journey's pretty interesting, and like
Have they been? I feel like they haven't popped up in my feed lately.
Nah.
yeah, well they've definitely slowed down. They're doing like podcast stuff.
Mhm.
He had a baby. They had a baby.
They had a baby, yeah. That's probably why you haven't seen them. But yeah, some of their old stuff is just, it's so good. Like their reaction videos to, I think he really nailed it with that stuff. So I've just been rewatching. And I've watched 3 complete seasons of Survivor in the last week.
Wow.
The old
3
school stuff, or
Some old school, some recent.
yeah.
Like I've never been a Survivor fan until we started watching the Australian one, and was like, this is actually a really good show. And so then we binged this whole season in 2 nights, one of the best American seasons, and we're like, oh, this is incredible. So then we watched another one, and we just finished last night a 3rd whole season in a week. So
Wow.
I'm watching a lot of Survivor.
And is the idea that you'll turn it into some form of creative for yourself?
Nah.
But how do you know that it won't?
Well, yeah, you're
I
right.
mean, isn't that the idea?
But
Like you've only got your inputs. Whatever you input could eventually turn
well,
into
I am currently doing the voiceovers for Yahoo for the Survivor Australia. So I am doing that, but it's actually quite difficult because they mumble a lot because they're quite tired. So it's hard to like read their lips. And yeah, it's actually a hard show to lip read.
Is there any easy way to do the lip reading thing?
There is no easy way.
Because I was thinking the bad lip read, the ones that were really, really famous.
Yeah.
They, I was thinking, surely they're taking the dialogue,
Put it in a machine.
a list that it spits out, this word could look like this, and then we jumble and...
Well, I don't know how they do it, but I'm assuming they haven't come up with some magical formula. The only way, and this is how I do it, is I watch the show without audio, or watch like a portion of the show, and if something pops up, oh, it looks like he's saying spaghetti, I'm like, okay, what could he be saying about spaghetti? And it's like, I eat spaghetti. And like, sometimes it works. Sometimes you're like, oh, I nailed it. Sometimes you just give up because it's like, he's just mumbling and he says spaghetti. With Survivor, it's difficult because they mumble. There's a lot of like reaction shots, so they're not actually saying anything. But we do like one run through where I just like, okay, what are they saying? Then you got to figure out a whole sentence, and then you have to make that sentence funny in the context of the whole video.
Yeah.
So it's a really long, difficult process, but when you nail it, it's like really funny.
What does it look like from a technical point of view? Are you like in Premiere Pro or something? And like
I'm in
fun?
Final Cut, watching it, like scrolling with like a little text block, like copy paste, and then I'll write in. So I'll go back to it, and like again, some things get deleted, some things are funny if I put it with 2 things and like create 30 seconds about cats because one person was talking about cats and then the second person was so it's long, That's why the bad lip reading guys do like a video every 3 months, I reckon. They probably have real jobs. But it's a cool, it's like a mathematical process almost of like, this is going to take the next 5 hours, but I'm in it for the long haul because I know that the end product's going to be good.
Which bit of the process do you love most? Not even of that, just of making videos.
Making videos, watching it when it's done.
So then you mustn't hate all the other bits.
I'm like an editor at heart. That's kind of like making videos for church and youth group. Got into editing pretty early, and so that's just kind of been my thing. So yeah, I love the edit because you can take something that is not working and make it work just in the edit. It's so powerful. But it's also scary when you watch something you've shot and you're like, this is not funny, and it was supposed to be. Will I be able to like save it with an edit? And sometimes you can, sometimes you can't.
It's a lot about problem solving, I guess.
Yeah, and just cutting, like, you might shoot something that's 2 minutes long, but only a minute of it is funny. Or it's an Instagram video. It's got to be a minute, but there's 2 minutes of good footage, and so you've got to figure out, okay, what's something dear to me that's really funny that I can just cut, and that's a hard decision sometimes.
Are you seeing any trends being in the position that you are? I guess you're having conversations with brands. What's the trend?
What's the new thing?
Yeah, or not even the new thing. Like, obviously the classics are like TikTok and all that stuff. But I guess on sort of a broader, more strategic level, like what are people resonating with at a very sort of content level, not necessarily platform?
I don't know. Like for me, it's hard because like Facebook is like the ruler, but they changed their algorithms and really changed the game a lot. And so even with like my Bachelor stuff, which is so measurable over the last 3 years, I've now had to like rethink it and think, is this actually working on this platform? So yeah, I don't really know what's the new thing, but like at some levels I've been really disappointed in my own like numbers, because like I thought I could rely on this Bachelor content, and then it took a dip, and I'm like, is it me? Is it the algorithm?
Yeah.
Like having all these thoughts. But then I made this video on the very end, or like even past the end of that bottle cap challenge. I had this idea of like doing a Vegemite one, like just making it real Aussie, and using a thong and flicking it from my foot, and like it hitting perfectly, and this thing spinning off, and then the Land Down Under starts playing, and I dance around like an Aussie larrikin. And then like I did that video, and it had like 1.4 million views, and I was like, I'm back, baby. Like, screw you algorithms. Like, it was just nice to have something that's like, I wouldn't say it went viral necessarily, but it's like, okay, like, the thing that I most relied on, isn't giving me the confidence, but just this little idea that I didn't think would go anywhere has like got a lot of views.
Oh, it's nice when you can, not even that example, but breaking the rules. Doing a longer video than everyone says.
Yeah. You got to do it over 3 minutes, and then you make a 10-second video. It's like, well, that worked.
Yeah.
So
I think not everyone knows. We can just know what is kind of working and what isn't working. Then you'll work it out.
Yeah. And again, it's like you said before. It's like, what do you value? And I try as hard as I can to not value numbers, because they often don't mean anything.
Yeah.
Like a big number doesn't mean anything, and a low number might not mean anything. And some of like my, in inverted commas, proudest work is something that's never ever going to go viral, and only a few people have kind of seen it. But I'm like, that's probably the funniest thing and most creative thing I've ever done. And that's the value. The value isn't that, a million people have to see it.
I think you can tell that as well. I feel like Tommy and I are always talking about what we love about your content is that you look like you're having fun doing it. And it doesn't fit, even though there's, you work with brands, you're a dude who wants to make this thing, and so you make it. I think that's like, that's what like if you can look at anything as a trend, I guess that's it, right? If you're being true to your voice as a creator and you're having fun.
Yeah, it's been cool, like having to do branded stuff to make a living, to really like work with brands who are really keen to like just risk things.
Yeah.
And I generally don't say yes to the brands who like, give you a script and say, please say these words and don't say these things. If they're smart, they're getting you for a reason, and they want your audience as well. So yeah, it's been really fun to work with brands, and they're like, just do whatever you want, or they give you a brief, and like I throw it in the bin, and then I create something, and they're like, oh, like that was the best. I'm like, yeah, it's because I didn't listen to your script, like the brief.
Do you do that even with the chance of them going, no, I don't even want that?
Absolutely. I'm like...
Has it happened?
I don't know why I'm so confident about it.
Well, they've hired you for a reason.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's, I guess, the part of it is it's...
Well, even to the point where I've said yes to a few like photo campaigns, and I don't do a photo, I do a video.
Yeah.
And they've come, like, the current one has come back and been like, oh yeah, by the way, yours was our favourite by far. We're going into phase 2. We're going to, like, get you on board for the second part. I'm like, I knew it. Like, I knew if I took the risk, even with the format that they wanted, that, and if I do a really good job, like, that's what they want. Maybe they don't want you to follow the rules. I still have, I say that I haven't come up against anyone who was like, you didn't do the brief, we're not paying you. Not yet.
Yeah.
But I'm sure it will happen.
But that's the game you're playing.
Yeah, and you're being true to yourself, and you're true to your content. I think that there's so many people who, young people who want to be YouTubers and want to be doing all of that stuff. And I think it's refreshing to hear someone like yourself who is just being authentically them, doing it the way that you want to do it, and actually have it succeed and work. I think that's really
nice.
Cool. Yeah.
It's like, oh man, like I got away with that one. But it's nice to get that feedback, particularly from brands, because it gives you confidence to be like, actually, I think I know what I'm doing, and like my ideas are all right. Like,
it's a weird time we're in. Like you can have a living doing this stuff.
Yeah.
And so we got to be grateful for that.
Yeah.
As well, because it hasn't always been this case. I think it's it's still very hard, but it's getting easier. All brands are starting to understand that we want to put our trust in Josh.
Yeah.
And you do you.
Yeah.
And that's super powerful, because it hasn't always been like that.
No. No. I know. The tide is turning a little bit, which is cool. Yeah. I'm stoked to be doing what I'm doing. And I'm just like riding the wave, because like who knows what's next.
Yeah.
Like, it's not going to happen, but like tomorrow Facebook could be no longer. And then you're like, oh, okay. Or Instagram, like, just, changes one thing.
Crazy.
The apocalypse. But people were like, oh my gosh, they're taking away likes, like game over. It's like,
I do have moments like that. Like, what if one day petrol no longer works in cars? I don't understand how
Elon's
it works.
plans worked.
Yeah, I don't know.
Everyone needs to go electric.
So you're Hi Josh everywhere on the internet, just about.
Yes.
Username wise.
Yeah.
Got the website domain. It's good.
I got the website, got the YouTube, got the Instagram, got the Facebook. Didn't get Snapchat, but then. But I don't use Snapchat
go
anymore.
anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
We used to be
TikTok
big.
would be good.
Yeah.
I reckon you'd be good on that.
I didn't
Mums
get
and bubs.
Yeah. I didn't get Hi Josh, so I've never used it.
So,
you spat it. You spat
Who
the
got it?
Spite of them. Oh, I don't know.
Someone just sitting
Probably
on it.
someone named Josh, I'm assuming.
Bye, Josh. It's just the opposite.
Yeah, my niece yesterday was like, you got to get on TikTok. And I'm like, I understand where she's coming from, and maybe she's right.
Yeah.
She's right. I can tell you.
With your stuff specifically,
it's
like the
100%.
dancing and stuff, like
It's so easy to consume.
And the Aussie stuff, like even actually, you look at the Australiana that happens on TikTok, and you've already done it with the, what Aussies say.
The content's there. You literally could just build out for the next 50 weeks.
Here's
a
some
video.
Old stuff.
That's what
no one
Tommy
knows.
did.
I did it.
Like
Why do you have dreads in this video?
A video of mine got like 150,000 plays or whatever it is, and so many comments.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was just a good video. It was one that went viral
He
on
bought
all
a
the other
Tesla
platforms.
with that.
But so I think it's like
TikTok
your
money.
stuff you may as well.
Okay.
There's no harm.
I will look into it once the baby comes,
Okay.
and we'll see how we go.
Okay, perfect. Can we feature in a we should do some form of collab.
Yeah, I'll give you my agent's email.
Do you have an agent?
That's his
what's
wife, Kat.
Yeah, I have a manager.
Yeah.
You do?
The last 3 or 4 weeks, I signed my life away to a manager.
And what have they
It's been
given you?
Awesome. I haven't had to read a contract since
good.
then,
Yeah.
and I haven't had to negotiate
Mm-hmm.
with the brand. I just sit back and kick things off Vegemite jars and eat daily, and no, it's been really good. They're awesome. That's a good thing.
You say who are they?
Daryl Lee.
No, who's the manager?
His name's Daryl. The company's called MTM, Media Talent Management, and my manager is Laura.
Oh, yeah, cool.
And she's about to have a baby too.
Oh, congratulations, Laura.
So who's
Well, it's
reading the
not mine.
contracts?
Titus.
Titus is stepping in.
He's stepping in.
Good to know. Mate, thank you for coming into our makeshift studio at the Overlow, Woolloomooloo. It's
Yes, it's a beautiful room.
mate, how good's
How
the
did you
cheese?
fork out so much money for
Mate,
this room?
It's
It's that
the
podcasting
4 million,
money.
the 4
Yeah.
million people.
It's those
Would you like
150,000
Oh, fuck, I just ate the whole-
views.
Would you like a
Sorry,
piece of
mate.
cheese? You Gronk?
I actually love cheese.
Yeah, what would you?
Massive Gronk move.
Oh, are you okay if I eat this whole thing?
This is just my
Anyway,
piece of bread.
it's a daily talk show. Hi at thedailytalkshow.com is the email address. If you like the show, you can leave a review on Apple Podcasts. Otherwise, we'll see you tomorrow.
If you don't like the show,
if you don't like the show, go...
eat some Daryl.
yeah.
fools.
Or just your sad sack. Go and watch Josh on
Yeah.
a Wednesday morning and feel good about yourself.
Just,
Yeah, dude.
Just dancing.
We'll see you
Great.
tomorrow,
See you,
guys.
dudes.
Catch ya.